Hello, once again. Been a bit, about 2 weeks or so. Um, you know, Toriyama died and MatPat officially retired. Still doing the other Game Theory channel though. But that's not what we're here to talk about. What I'm here to talk to you about is reflection. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, let's just look. Just get a mirror or some other reflective surface and look at yourself. Dead in those eyes. And then think of how you were a year ago. Think of how you were 2 years ago. Think of how you were 3, 4, 5 years ago. Notice how each image is very different from the last. I think we forget to realize how much we are growing in real time. So I want to use this moment to remind you, yes, you, whoever you are, to look, reflect, think about who you once were, and think about who you are now. Think about what you've done in the time from then to now. I like to, whenever I feel hard on myself, I like to look back and think of everything. See how much I've grown and all the good I've done. The channel may be small, but I've done a lot of good for other people's lives, especially those in which I was personally involved with. As you may know from looking at just my first few videos, or if you know me personally, which is probably most of you at this point, you know that I love Dungeons and Dragons. It's like one of, if not my favorite hobby. And one thing I hadn't really realized, truly realized, I've had it told to me by these people quite a bit, but I haven't truly realized how much I've had an impact on both of these people's lives. They may know who I'm talking about. They've told me about it before, but, you know, it all started because one day we decided to just get around the table, play some D&D. And next thing you know, these two started talking out of the game because they didn't know each other. And they're in a relationship. They've been in this relationship for well over a year, because that's how long I've been planning all this D&D stuff. And their passion for each other is so unbelievably strong. They almost never do anything without the other. And usually when I'm down on myself, at least one of them, if not both of them, will remind me that if it wasn't for me gathering them around and us playing that game, that wouldn't have happened. So I look at myself now, and all the things I can say I had a hand in, the good that I say I have done, that I can confidently say that I've done, and I look at me from 3 or 4 years ago, who wasn't even half the person that I am now. And I'm sure all of you got your own stories. I want to know them. I want to know you. If there's a story like mine, where you just look at yourself now, and all the things you can connect your name to, all the accomplishments you say, you can confidently say that you had a part in, tell me about them. Tell me all the great stories you have to say. Compare yourself to how you were back. Or another form of reflection, looking back at the habits that you have overcome. I myself personally have never faced any sort of drug or alcohol addiction, but I know others who have, and who have gotten multitudes better past that whoever they were. Well, let me hear those stories from you. If you have emotional problems, maybe you get too angry too quickly and you have fixed that, or you have gotten at least a little bit better at that, let me know that. I want to know who you were. And then I want to know who you are. We all have our stories of how we were. And yeah, we hate who we were most of the time because we were a different person back then. When you can look at yourself in the past and say that was a bad person, or that was a bit of a cringe person, if it was more just you acting a little too silly, the fact that you can say that now shows that you've grown from being that person. I can look back at myself now and say that was not a good person. I can look at myself now and say I am a good person. I'm at least decent. And I can look at you in your eyes and I can tell you've grown. I don't know who you are. Or maybe I do know. Like I said, most of the people watching this are people I know personally. But I can look at you. You've grown. From some point in your life or another, you have grown. Whether you're 14 now and looking back at yourself 2 years ago, maybe you barely changed, but you still changed. That's always a good thing when you change yourself for the better. And maybe you're just starting to go through the bad things in your life. Do your best to stay on that good path. Know that the person you will become, with enough effort, will be an astoundingly amazing, glorious person if you stay on that path. And if you do everything in your power to self-improve every day possible, and yes, I know, the body and mind are not really built for that, but if you can do that, and you have the tolerance and the durability to do that, I would highly suggest doing it. Maybe you're a person who has to take it 1 teaspoon at a time. Take self-improvement 1 little breadcrumb at a time before you can start taking the little bits and whatever. Bread analogy. Whatever you can do to improve, even if you take 2 steps back, you can always make 3 steps forward. It's all about progress. Tell me your stories. Tell me your stories of how you've grown. And tell me what your next step is. So that in the future, you can look at yourself and say, I still continue to grow. That's about all the time I have. Just got a message from one of my friends, and I'm going to check out what the heck they're talking about. So, until next time.